This is the last episode of the Hockey Hub on this time slot. I had to say that really quickly because imagine I just paused after I
thought you were going to say this is the last episode of Hockey Hub for a second. I said, what?
No.
Nobody told me that.
I was trying to get like a hook. This is the last episode of the Hockey Hub on this time slot. We are officially moving to, we're keeping Mondays.
Yeah.
This is Wednesday today, going to Fridays, but at 1 o'clock now.
Okay.
Okay, because we wanted to get sound from the Bruins and play it for you guys live, be a little bit more relevant now that training camp is like in the books.
Yep.
Marco Sturm talks around what, 12:30, 12:45?
Yeah, well, typically during the season, you'll either have morning skates, right?
Yep.
Which will be like 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, and practice 11, 11:30. Right? And so that gives us an opportunity to talk to players after practice, hear what Marco Sturm has to say, and then you come on with Hockey Hub. You have all that great information, all that sound that we can listen to and break down. So it's perfect scheduling. It's
perfect. It's going to be really, really on time. But this is our last Wednesday episode. To everyone who's been tuning in, just wanted to let you know. A lot of Twitter notification, or it's not called Twitter, it's called X. I can't get that out of my head.
We know what you're talking about.
A lot of Twitter X notifications that I get people saying never miss an episode. So thank you to all those people.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Very nice. So we want to let you know about that. Today on the show, Adam Pellerin obviously joins us. He and I are going to go over what's been going on at training camp, what we're looking ahead to. And Belle Fraser, if you don't know that name, get used to it because you're going to be hearing a lot of her. She was a writer for the Hockey Writers. I think still is. I think is still writing. I'm just going to confirm that with her, but is now doing sideline reporting and some social media for the Boston Bruins. She's an excellent reporter.
Yeah, she was covering the Bruins a couple of years back and then got an opportunity in Utah to cover the Mammoth when it was the Utah Hockey Club. And so now she's back and ready to rock. So it'll be interesting. We've seen her there every single day of training camp and traveling with the team and getting all the stories. And so it'll be interesting to talk to her. Yeah,
she asks a lot of very good questions. You'll hear her voice in a lot of those scrums that we're going to play out live for you. But anyway, she's going to be on in about 15, 20 minutes. So she's going to join us for the second half of the show. Adam, we're going to go over the game that just happened. Shootout loss for the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
But first, I just want to ask you, you're doing ringside. He's going to be doing a little bit of hosting, too. We're going to switch off.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite part so far of training camp and just being ringside in general? It's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, it is. We're just getting into it. Preseason games and training camp can kind of be a grind, right, for the players, for everybody involved, from, the players, coaches, to people who cover the team as well. So really looking forward to getting to the regular season, which starts a week from tonight in Washington. But before that, you got a road game in Washington tomorrow, which is right here on Nesson. The pregame coverage, which you'll be hosting, starts at 6. I'll be traveling with the team to Washington. So far so good. I mean, it's been good. It's been a good experience. I think everybody compares this training camp to last year's training camp because last year's training camp was so disjointed. You had the injuries, you had the contract situation with Jeremy Swayman. This has been sort of no news is good news type of thing from the distraction perspective, right? There haven't been any distractions.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? It's just been business as usual from that point of view. But Marco Sturm's been great so far. Really, great to talk to, friendly with the media, very direct, and you know what you got to get from him, and I think that's the sort of sense you get from the players too, right? He's very clear in what he wants, very direct, very straightforward, and that's been my takeaway so far.
Nice. You didn't really answer my question at all.
I didn't?
No, I said what's the most fun, and you didn't.
What's the most
straight into
fun?
Analyst mode.
The most fun. Well, I think you know what it is. Personally, the most fun is getting back into the routine.
Yeah.
Getting back into the routine of training camp, going to practices, talking to the players, hearing what the head coach has to say, and seeing our colleagues in the media who, we like to talk with and have fun with, right, when we go to Warrior Ice Arena. So, so that part has been fun. Sorry I didn't answer your question. I told you, it's been a minute since I've been on the show.
Yeah, you know what? I'll get you right back in there. Okay, so Adam is going to be your main ringside reporter for the season. Adam, you were off on Monday. Razor got to do ringside, but I'm sure you caught the game.
No, I didn't watch.
Oh, you did?
Of course, I watched.
I mean, listen, sometimes on my days off, I'm like, I unplug. Got to do that once in a while. But the Bruins fielded, I guess you'd want to say, a roster that Brick and Judd and everybody that we had on the show and Barry and Billy, that was very close to what we might see. And of course, something I point out all the time, the last game of the preseason, that's when you kind of see everyone kind of in action. But we know well into the regular season that the bottom 6, the bottom 9, there's going to be a lot of different faces. I don't think we're going to be sticking to what we're seeing. There are going to be healthy scratches, I'm sure. We're going to see messages, guys coming up and down from Providence. So even with that being said, let's not, I don't want everyone to think like this is going to be the roster, but it was a close roster with a lot of the superstars in it, and we saw some of their performances. Jeremy Swayman, first preseason game. So many places to take it here. I'm not really giving you a direction, but what stood out to you? Yeah,
what stood out was the fact that Jeremy Swayman and David Pastrnak took the ice for the first time in preseason, so it was good to see them. And obviously, when we started this conversation talking about training camp, and we compared it to last year's training camp, obviously Jeremy Swayman's contract situation was the big story. So it's nice to not have to talk about that this year and just talk about the goalie that you see on the ice and seeing his first action. I thought it was obviously a slow start in terms of not seeing a lot of action. Right? He didn't see a lot of action.
Yeah, the shots were like
there's five, I believe,
and then,
in the second period, right?
Low,
so not a lot of action, trying to get into the groove. And, and he talked about it after the game. The stick handling portion is something that he's trying to work on. We saw the turnover behind the net that led to a goal, right? So, it's just getting your work in. That's what it's all about. But it was good to see him on the ice. And David Pastrnak, I thought, was outstanding. There was a little bit of concern, I think, for all of us, even though Bruins said it was no big deal. David Pastrnak said it was no big deal. But hearing tendonitis in the knee, it's like, all right, is this going to be a lingering issue all season long? Is this something that they're going to have to manage? Is this something we're going to have to keep an eye on? It didn't look that way in the preseason opener anyway. He looked like he was full systems go. So that was good to see. And yeah, I mean, it was pretty close to an NHL lineup with the exception of a couple of defensemen, right, and Brunet and Sweezy, who we saw out on the ice. And, the forward group, to your point, that's going to be interesting to see. We saw during the game that Arvidsson and Poitras flipped. Marco Sturm said after the game it was just trying to get both of those lines going. I think everybody agrees that the top line is going to be the top line with Lindholm, Geekie, and Pastrnak, at least to start the season. And hopefully they can pick up where they left off last year. But after that, even that second line, right, because you have Mittelstadt and Zacha and Arvidsson to start the game. Is Pavel Zacha going to be a center? Is he going to be a wing? Is that where he's going to start off? Is Mittelstadt going to be in the middle? So there are all these different questions.
Yeah.
And then you get to the personnel aspect of it too, where there are a lot of different forwards, that are vying for jobs that maybe didn't play in the game on Monday night. So yeah, it's a couple games left in the preseason. I think there are still some things that need to be figured out, 1 week before the start of the regular season.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, there's going to be things that are going to be figured out throughout the season, and that's not just for the Boston Bruins. Like, that's so normal for every hockey team.
Totally.
Rarely do you have 4 lines that are 4 lines all the time and click the way they need to click every time.
Right.
There was a time, I guess, with the perfection line that was very clear, and then the second line was very clear with David Krejci.
Sure.
Yeah, there was a time. But
37, 63, and 88, right?
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago, but it feels like a long time ago.
It does feel like a very long time ago. You mentioned that first line, something that was noticeable. So for both preseason games that Morgan Geekie and Elias Lindholm were on together, David Pastrnak obviously missed that first one. They connected for a goal, Geekie getting the goal, Lindholm the assists. I'm sure Lindholm is tired of the storyline, the narrative, if he didn't start off really great, but he wants to pick up where he left off. Seems to be doing that. This would be huge. If he could have the season that was expected of him last year, we're looking at a great, a very productive first line again, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something that I think a lot of people expected to see right out of the gate, and they didn't see that. And after the season, we learned that Lindholm was dealing with an injury, so that had an impact. And you also have to take into consideration with every free agent that comes to a new team, especially one where there's high expectations attached to them. There's going to be an adjustment period. And I think we saw that with both Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov, who, of course, were the 2 big signings last year. In Zadorov's case, he ended up coming on pretty strong in the second half of the year and, played really well and had a good season statistically for the Bruins. I think early on he was taking a lot of penalties, and, that was something that, sort of fortunately went away as the season went on for the most part. But in Elias Lindholm's case, he started off on that top line with the Bruins to start last year, started off on that top power play, was in the bumper position. And as we know, the power play struggled mightily last year.
Yes.
And he's back in the bumper position this year, and so hopefully the power play, can produce for them, and hopefully he can produce 5-on-5 for them as well, because you're right, he's a big piece.
You brought up Nikita Zadorov.
Yeah.
What I liked seeing, he played in the first preseason game, which was at home, and then there was a travel game, and he went to that game, and we talked about that on the show about how that
had the walk-off.
Had the walk. That's right. That was the Rangers. Yeah, had the walk-off. But we talked about how that was definitely a message to him by the team, by the staff. I really liked the couple blocks he had in, again, preseason, and the couple blocks he had in the third period that led to OT after the Bruins tied it up. I mean, everyone, Jeremy Swayman was big at the end of that, but everyone kind of, it felt like the effort was there from everyone, but I liked it from Nikita Zadorov, which is important.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, you mentioned the third period in overtime, and that was entertaining.
Yes, or was it in overtime that the blocks were?
Yeah,
I think it was OT.
Yeah, OT.
Whatever,
yeah.
It was to...
Yeah, well, the Bruins ended up being shorthanded 4-on-3.
Yes, it was in OT.
Right.
Yeah, it was in OT.
Yes, but yeah, it was an entertaining third period and overtime for a preseason game especially. So that was fun to see. But yeah, I mean, you're going to need that. You're going to need that because this team, and I know Brick has been on the show, I know we've talked about it. I mean, this team is going to be predicated on defense, goaltending, and as Brick likes to say, strength down the middle, right, with the center group. You know, and your special teams has to come in too, right? Power play and the penalty kill, right?
Yeah.
Because the penalty kill, which historically has been so good for the Bruins, was not last year.
Yeah.
And so that's a big piece of it as well. And Zadorov, obviously a penalty killer, be a part of that group. And yeah, you know, but if he can pick up where he left off last season, I mean, think he'll be in good shape. He'll be happy with that. Be interesting to see who he's paired with too, because we saw in that game against the Flyers, he was paired with Charlie McAvoy, right? And is that going to be the pairing to start the year? I don't think you have a lot of questions about the personnel when it comes to the D-core, right? I think you know who it's going to be. Looks like Jordan Harris is on track to be that seventh defenseman. But the pairings, I think, are still a question mark, right?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we saw. We saw a flip from the first and second pairing between the last two games.
Yeah.
And so I think that is going to be TBD.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a little bit more clear sooner than the forward lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be more jumbling over there. You mentioned Jeremy Swayman. Why don't we talk about him a little after, because I do have a lot of thoughts on that. But Marco Sturm spoke after the game, and so let's hear from him.
Marco, it was our first look at Jeremy Swayman, certainly in game action this training camp. Your thoughts on his performance and where he's at currently in relative to training camp in October 8th?
Yeah, it was not easy for him. He's been practicing for such a long time. Never really had played a real game yet. So even at camp, you know, 1 week practice, it's just not the same. But I think he got better every period, and he could see it, especially in OT on the BK there. He made some good saves.
In terms of the game, it seemed like the first couple of periods was maybe an emphasis on structure on both directions, both teams. A lot of structure, not a lot going in terms of offense, but it really seemed to pick up in the third period, the pace, the physicality. Is that the way you saw it? Yeah,
we didn't like our first two periods. It was pretty much no flow, right? We were looking for the pretty play all the time. It's just not going to work. And we saw that same game in Philly, where they had a better lineup, and we had a lot of grinders in our lineup, and that's just the way it is. They were hanging around, and all of a sudden they're up a goal. So, no, overall it was. Yeah, no, it was a preseason game. We wanted more. We got a little bit more in the third period, but no, we got to go back to work after day off tomorrow. And very quickly, what remains of training camp in preparation for the opener? I mean, where do you want to be here with these last two games as far as a working number? Yeah, no, I mean, again, first of all, there was a lot the last week or so. Now I don't want the guys to think. So I want to push the guys forward much as we can in without thinking in practice. And then, yeah, we're probably going to go with a little bit of younger lineup to wash and maybe or hopefully play our team for the last game against the Rangers. Thanks, Marco. Thank you.
So a couple of things. Again, re-listening to this, because obviously we played it in our post-game show, that stood out to me with that. I don't want our guys to think, and so kind of want to talk about that with you. But then he said, this kind of throws me off. He said we might go with a bit of a younger lineup to Washington. we assumed on the show the day off yesterday that today might be some cuts. That's normally how the patterns go. So when he says that, though, I'm like, wait a minute. If they're going with the younger lineup, are they giving them not one more chance, but do they want one more look before they make the cuts? I guess you'll find that out today.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting is when the training camp schedule came out, you looked at the times, and for the first week or so of training camp, there were 2 groups.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, this past Sunday, was supposed to be 1 practice. That turned into 2 groups. And today, what day is this? Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Was supposed to be 1 group, and now it's 2 groups.
Oh, okay.
Right? So
Adam with the insight over there. I did not know.
Yeah, so there you go. And just looking at social media, if you're watching us live, the Group B group that went on the ice first today is a younger group.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not the main guys on the ice today.
So they're probably giving them 1 more game.
Yeah, so that you would think.
Okay. I like that insight because it says a lot about the fact that the decisions aren't clear.
Right.
And Marco Sturm is really, and his staff is really, like, usually it's a little bit more evident. Like I said, we see cuts after a day off, and then you field kind of 2 different look rosters for the last 2 games.
Yeah. And again, Marco Sturm, I don't know how many times he said this over the course of training camp. He said it quite a few times. I need to see it. I need to see it because, again, like, this is a new head coach who is seeing these players for the first time.
Yeah.
Everybody, including the veterans, right? So, that's, it's relevant because it's like, all right, I don't know if Pavel Zacha is going to be a wing or a center. I need to see it. I don't know if Matt Poitras going to be a winger. I need to see it. So that I think it's in line with what he has been saying all training camp long. What
do you think? I think I asked him a question like a week ago or something about something he said. Oh, it was Patrick Brown who said, and Patrick Brown was taking accountability where he was like, oh, all of us kind of were overthinking. It was the first game, I think, or maybe it was even the second, but that 1 second, split second longer, you overthink a pass or a move, and then it leads to it doesn't lead to the smoothness of a play because that 1 second adds up over time and then it becomes like a disjointed thing. And I asked Marco Sturm about that, and then he was like, oh, it's kind of my fault because I'm bringing too many new systems. It's like, well, no, it's no one's fault. It's just part of the way it is. But then you heard him say, he's like, I don't want the guys to think. What do you think he means by that? And we can ask him, but he just wants them to not overthink their role or if they're going to make it or not make it, or just maybe not overthink. How do you not overthink the systems when they're new? I don't
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think he's just saying go play hockey.
Right.
Right? Just go play hockey. Don't think about it. Don't think too much.
Right.
If you overthink it, it's not going to, give you good results.
Right.
Right? I think he's not telling them, hey, don't think about whether or not you're going to make the team. I think it's like, hey, just go play hockey. Just go do what you do.
Yeah.
Right? Don't overthink it. Just go out and play.
That is hard.
I think that's the message.
I mean, it is hard if you're used to playing a certain way, though, but then you have a different system. So that's the part where it's like...
You can teach the system, right? Eventually.
Yeah.
I think that's the message is like, look, if you're not familiar with some things, we can work on that.
Yeah.
Right? I just want to see what you can do.
See what you
can
do.
Go play.
Yeah,
right.
Go play. Well, they're going to be able to do that tomorrow in Washington. Guys, as promised, Belle Fraser is going to join us on the later half of the show. She is the newest member of the Boston Bruins media and is going to be traveling with the team, asking a lot of questions. She's fabulous. So we're going to hear from her a little later. But for now, we're going to send it to break, Adam. And we'll
okay, sounds good.
After this. Welcome back to the Hockey Hub. As promised, we have Belle Fraser on with us right now. For those of you who are not familiar with the name, like I said at the beginning of the show, get used to it because she's going to be one of your main Bruins representatives. Officially, the title, I believe, Belle, is multimedia producer, but you were a writer for the Hockey Writers. That's when I got to know you. Did a little bit of work with Utah, and now you're permanently with the Boston Bruins, covering the team in what aspect? Let the fans, first of all, thank you for being on, but let the fans know how they're going to be getting to know you.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Very excited to be here with you guys and back in Boston. Yeah, like you said, I'm the multimedia producer. So I'm kind of the team reporter internally, so all the stories you see on the Bruins websites and features and game notes will be me. I'm also on social media giving practice updates and everything Bruins fans need to know. And then we are really excited about Behind the B this year. I'm helping field produce that. It's more access than ever before. We're really excited to give kind of the behind the scenes look that Bruins fans love to see with that show, but elevate it a little bit. We have sit down interviews and more storylines. So doing a lot with that. And then it's in the title, kind of just multimedia content at games, before games. We do the B60 and key takeaways and kind of just keeping Bruins fans informed and excited for the season on all platforms.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Behind the B stuff in a little bit because the show, it's Emmy Award winning. It's been great. It's been on for a number of years, but it is a little bit different this year. And as you alluded to, it's going to be a little bit more in depth with player stories. So that'll be a lot of fun. In terms of, what you've experienced so far at training camp, how are things going for you? What have you observed? How are things going, with the new role?
It's been great. I've hit the ground running, which I actually prefer. I got here when training camp started, and I think you can feel it around the rink. You guys have been here for the past few weeks. The players feel really excited, and there's a good energy about this season. And I think that just makes everyone else want to work harder and want to promote the product. No complaints. I think all of us are so lucky that we get to go to Warrior Ice Arena or TD Garden as our office every day. So it's been a blast, and I just can't wait for opening night and for things to really get going. And you can see this week, it looks like the final roster is getting closer and closer. So Bruins fans, the wait is almost over. It feels like the season is finally really upon us.
Yeah, so what, you mentioned the energy. That's something that I always harp on too. Like, I'm a big vibes person, even though that's not always tangible. But I talk about that all the time. You can feel when the room is down or when there's tension versus when there's excitement and opportunity. And they're definitely leaning into the excitement and opportunity part. But that being said, Adam and I, just before you logged on, we were talking about what the schedule of cuts might look like. And normally after a day off, the Bruins, which they had yesterday, the Bruins will make some cuts. But as Adam pointed out, there are still two groups skating instead of one. And Marco Sturm said in his post-game interview with Andy Brickley that he might field a younger roster with Washington. So it looks like they're, spending a little bit more time than in seasons before to figure that out. What do you know? What can you tell us? What are you hearing about that process?
That's been a big emphasis for Marco Sturm from the first day, mixing the veterans with the young players. And even if that doesn't mean that's going to be the opening night roster, I think it's all about getting those younger guys experience with players who have been in the league for a while. And, the first week of training camp, they mixed the locker rooms, which is something they hadn't done before. So it didn't matter which group the players were in. It wasn't young guys and older guys. It was a mix of both. So Nikita Zadorov said he really enjoyed that because he actually got to know players that he would have just seen on the ice and not really known their backstory. So I think that's been a really big part of it. And also, there's a lot of new faces, even some of the veterans like Victor Arvidsson, Sean Corrali, who everyone knows, but he's coming in a different stage of his career, are getting more comfortable and earning their voices in the locker room. So I think that's a big thing where it's just getting to know each other, and for Sturm to understand the players he has, not just in the NHL level, but in the AHL level as well. For him, it's getting to know all of these guys on and off the ice as well. So I think that has been an emphasis, is the team building, and also making sure that the players that need a little more rest are able to sit out of some exhibition games, and that they're able to give some of the bubble players a couple more games as well. So I think keeping both groups around has helped with both of those things.
Yeah, keeping the groups together in the dressing room. I actually asked Nikita Zadorov about how he was getting to know some of the new faces and some of the younger players. And before he revealed that they were keeping the groups together in dressing rooms, he had actually invited me to the next team party, the next team bonding party. I'm still waiting for that invite. I haven't gotten that invite yet.
I remember that. Yeah. Okay. Wait for it. Keep waiting.
Yeah. I don't think that invite is coming. I think he was just selling me something. But anyway, yeah. So obviously, everybody. I know you weren't here last year. You were out in Utah covering the Utah Hockey Club, which is now the Utah Mammoth. That's the first long road trip for the Bruins, by the way. You got Vegas, Colorado, and Utah. So you'll get to go and see your own old stomping grounds. But in terms of your new role and being around the team now and seeing some of the new faces for you, but also the big storyline last year in training camp, Belle, was the fact that it was so disjointed. You had all the injuries that guys were dealing with. You had the Jeremy Swayman contract situation. It was disjointed, and that was the word that they used. This year, that's not the case, and it seems like it's all systems go for the Bruins right now.
It definitely is, and I think it helps that even for the guys who have been in that locker room last year or here for years, everyone's learning a new system under Sturm. So it feels like a really big group effort where you can help them get used to the city and the culture of the Bruins, but everyone is almost starting from scratch right now. So I think that's a big thing. And then you mentioned, Jeremy Swayman has been here all of camp, and he had a good showing in his first preseason exhibition. Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm are back in the locker room, and those were two huge losses last year. And I think everyone's been feeling really positive about how they've shown in training camp. We did a feature story on Hampus Lindholm and talked to the training staff about everything they did to get him up to speed and ready to go. And, Bruins fans have watched it for themselves in the preseason exhibitions. He's come back extremely strong, and that was his goal, to have his knee better than it was before injury, not just to get back to where he was last season. So I think that just promotes confidence throughout the room when you have your guys like McAvoy, Swayman, Lindholm, David Pastrnak, who skated in his first preseason game and really drove that first line and got the power play clicking, although they didn't score. I think that just helps everyone in the room feel good about where they are heading into the season.
This is a bit of a non-technical question, but just so curious about how you decide what storylines you want to pursue, and do you hear little things in the scrums? Are you watching body language? Like, I like to watch the room, and sometimes it's the smallest thing that I'll pick up on. Yeah. I don't know if it's like a secret handshake or something a player has with someone. I'm making that up right now. But, you see that and then you're like, okay, let's see what's here. How do you decide? Because you were a writer and now you're doing this and you had some great stories. What leads you to them?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Like you're saying, like the secret handshakes and stuff that is a hockey story, but maybe isn't breaking down the X and O's on the ice. I was a hockey fan growing up, obviously, and that was my favorite type of content to read or to watch on video was the more granular, like behind the scenes, who are these people as humans and not just hockey players. So I think that's a big part of my role and purpose. And what I love to do is help fans get to know the team kind of as an organization, as it relates to the community and who these people are with their families and with their friends. And yeah, so I think that's what I definitely look for. We just did a story on Jordan Harris, who signed with Boston this year, and he's a local guy, and it was kind of a dream come true for him. And he was a college hockey legend at Northeastern, captain of that team, 2 Beanpots Hockey East championships. So, maybe you don't know that when you're just watching him on an ice for an exhibition game, but there's so much more to his story that connects to Boston. So I think those are the things we're really trying to bring out and help fans kind of know more about the product that they see on the ice.
It's interesting that you mentioned Northeastern being a BU alum and all. I didn't think that you were actually going to, bring that up.
She's impartial. She's a good journalist, Adam. She's impartial.
Well, Jordan Harris scored the double OT goal in the Beanpot to beat BU, so I've had to get over it.
I know. So you're talking about getting to know the players a little bit, and obviously there's some familiarity there, with you covering the team a couple of years ago. Who's been sort of the most interesting character you've come across in the room, and not necessarily character zany, but like just interesting personality, I guess you could say?
I think someone who's been impressive, who is a new face and none of us knew before, was Matej Blumel. He talked on the first day of training camp, and I think he was very clear with his intentions. He was in Dallas for 3 years and was a bubble player, but their forward depth was so deep that he stuck in the AHL for a while. And he said that he wanted to come to Boston because he felt like he could have a big opportunity here. And, he didn't really cut corners. He said, I've been working extremely hard in the off season. I know I can be a goal scorer. I know I can help on the power play. And he's been consistently in the top 6 in practices and in preseason games. And he's been on the second power play unit. So I think he's really trying to show coaching staff and management that he can be a responsible, consistent player in the NHL. And he also had a tie to David Pastrnak and Pavel Zacha, all countrymen together. And he said that was a really big reason he wanted to be in Boston too, because those are players he's looked up to, and, they can speak the same language and kind of relate to one another. And he actually stayed with Pavel Zacha for a week in Boston when he first got here and got the tour of the city. So I think off the ice, Matej Blumel has just had, a welcoming personality. He's a guy that chose Boston and that wants to do his best for the team. And then on the ice, I think he has shown what he can be, being a hopefully top 6 goal scorer, and they're giving him the opportunity to prove that through week 3 of training camp. So I think that's definitely someone that maybe wasn't on the top of the radar heading into training camp, but has been an interesting storyline to follow.
He did his own dishes too, right?
Yeah, he did his dishes. At Zaka's place. Yes, Zaka liked it. Also, I just want to follow up on that because he's someone that stood out to me as well. He seems very confident, but not cocky, right? There's just this, his English is excellent too, which obviously helps. It would be very intimidating to talk to the media if you were struggling with your English, but his English is excellent. He's very well spoken. I've noticed him on the ice when he's had his time. I hope, and what do I know, really? But, I would love to see a bigger sample size in the regular season to see what that could do for him. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what all these guys talk about, because although the preseason might feel long to us when there's 6 games in training camp every day, it is a small sample size for them to prove themselves. So I think that's what every player in that locker room is battling for, is just to get a chance to be on the opening night roster. And then from there, earn your spot every single day. And that's what a lot of the players and Marco Sturm talks about. It's an everyday battle. It's not that this person is written into the lineup and that's that. And I think you've seen that, like we talked with the 2 groups here. They're really giving and room for players to prove themselves throughout camp. So I think Blumel falls under that category, and mostly everyone else on the roster up until this point.
Yeah, it's been such a competitive training camp, a number of spots up for grabs, you would think, in the forward group. And one of those players is Mikey Eyssimont, who had an outstanding game against the Rangers, the 2 goals, the shorthanded goal, had an assist as well. And I thought his comments after the game were pretty interesting too, right? And you were there. Talking about the decision to join the Bruins in free agency. He wanted to go to a place where he wasn't going to have his wings clipped, which I thought was an interesting line from him, and he could just be himself. And so far, that's been the case.
Totally. And that was another storyline, and I think, Nate, when you asked the previous question, that definitely comes up. And that Rangers game, he really just took over in the 3rd period. 3 points in 20 minutes is obviously a lot for any game. And he did the qualifier like, oh, it's preseason, whatever. But I think that was a performance that Bruins fans can hopefully expect from Mikey Eyssimont, and especially the bottom 6 and 4th line identity. He's talked about it. Sean Corrali talked about it after last game against Philadelphia, that they want to come over the boards and be a really tough line to play against. They want the other team to be nervous when they're on the ice. They want to stick up for their teammates and be physical. But they both said they also really want to clinch games for the team. They want to come in and be able to score a gritty goal in front of the net and actually produce, and not just be, an enforcer line or something like that. And they want to be able to play against other teams' top lines if they need to. And that goes into the penalty kill too, which a lot of those guys kind of contribute to. So I think Mikey Eyssimont is kind of the classic Bruin in a way. He has that edge about him. But as we have seen, he has some real offense to him. And I think the fact that, kind of like Blumel, he came in here with a goal that he set for himself. He has a fire in his belly and he's ready to prove it. And he's been extremely consistent in training camp. So I think that's definitely another guy to look for, and hopefully will bolster the depth of the forward group for the Bruins.
I had to be careful. I said this on the show a couple weeks ago. Anytime you use a sentence or compare someone to Brad Marchand, you have to be careful, especially with this fan group. So I want to just be clear again for anyone listening that this is not a direct comparison, but there were flashes, and it wasn't just the shorthanded goal, because we know Brad Marchand was the shorthanded king, short king. But it was just little flashes of what is definitely going to be missing by losing Brad Marchand, taking over a game. Jack Edwards used to call him a dog on a bone with the puck, right? And there were elements of that. So again, I'm sure if Mikey was listening to this, he doesn't want me to downplay that, and he wants to be like, no, I could do that for you all the time. And if fans are listening, they're like, no one could be like Brad. So somewhere in the middle, I want to land, but someone needs to be able to bring that energy, take over a game, rally the team, dirty goals, all the things that you were just saying, or greasy, whatever word we want to use. And I just felt I saw flashes of that, and that made me feel, confident that if he can bring that night in, night out, that's going to really help with the loss that the Bruins suffered in losing Brad.
Yeah, totally. And so much of it is away from the puck too. I think, when you talk about Marchand, or what the Bruins need in their forward group right now. And that's been another point of emphasis, is having 2-way players and dominating in all 3 zones. And quick transitions, quick breakouts, getting the puck and being in the other end in a matter of, seconds. And was basically what the first week of training camp was all about. So I think AC Mont really fits that mold of how Sturm wants the offense run, and that all starts in the D zone, and I think he's really gotten that and shown it so far.
So many storylines this year, Belle. It'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about special teams, penalty kill, and the power play. Let's stick with the power play. Have you had an opportunity to talk to Steve Spott? And if so, what has he said? And if not, or I guess you can answer both questions. What have been your observations about the power play? What have players said about how it's going so far under a new coach?
Yeah, we haven't gotten the chance to talk to him yet, but definitely want to pick his mind on the power play. And a lot of the players have just said they like that they're practicing it a lot more than they did last season, that they're getting reps, basically all of the second week was special teams. And then in the Philadelphia game, they had 3 power plays and they didn't capitalize on it. But Pastrnak said it was just really nice to be able to get some touches and make the changes in real time. And it's kind of the similar units that we saw last year, McAvoy, Pastrnak, Zacha, Geekie, Elias Lindholm on the first unit. And then, like we said, Matej Blumel has gotten a chance on the second unit. Matt Poitras got a chance on the second unit last game with Hampus Lindholm, Arvidsson, and Casey Middlestat. And then Mason Lohrei has also been in that group. So I think they're testing chemistry, and it's really a big area of their game that they want to improve. That's what all the players have said, and that's what Marco Sturm has said as well, that he wants the power play to be firing by the start of the season. And obviously there will be growing pains and, ups and downs, but I think that's something that the Bruins are really working on during training camp so that they can get that special team scoring that will help them put more games in the win column this season.
Yeah, something we talked about on our show is David Pastrnak's performance last year, and that's without, the power play, 43 goals, 106, I think it was 106 or 103 points, one or the other, but without even, special teams clicking. So can't wait for that to happen for him if it does. Bill, we got to send it to break and let you go because you're going to go watch the guys right now at Warrior. Adam's going to join you after our show. Thank you so much for joining. Congratulations on your position. You do an excellent job. I think you ask awesome questions. I'm very happy the Bruins hired you. Thanks for joining our show.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Belle.
All right, guys, we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Hockey Hub. We are letting you know the final preseason schedule and the upcoming schedule for the Boston Bruins of the regular season. So tomorrow, they're in Washington taking on the Capitals. Adam will be there ringside. We have a pre-game show at 6 o'clock, so tune in then. And then Thursday no, that's not Thursday. I think that's Saturday versus the Rangers. Correct. Saturday versus the Rangers at 2 p.m. Full show for us, so pre-intermissions and post. And then they're taking on the Capitals, Adam, back in Washington for their season opener. And we are going to have a pre-game for that and post-game. And then finally, the home opener against the Blackhawks the very next day. Back-to-back. Nesson, full show. Puck drop at 7. That means pre-game at 6.
You know what I hope?
What do you hope? Other than winning the lottery, because I hope that.
Yeah. I hope the Red Sox are still playing for all of those games right there.
Oh, that's what you were. Is that what you were thinking the whole time?
No, it wasn't what I was thinking the whole time, but I was looking at the dates, right? And look, we're Nesson. We're the home of the Red Sox and the Bruins, right? Red Sox with a big win last night. They play tonight. Potentially play tomorrow if they lose tonight. Maybe they can get it done. But then the division series starts on Saturday. It's best of 5. So, I mean, we could be doing this whole, crossover thing for a while, which is so much fun.
It is very, very exciting, and this is the best
That's
time.
not all I was thinking.
That's what you were thinking. Just admit it. Whatever. I don't care. My best friends are coming from Toronto on that week. So the 10th, 11th, 12th. So kind of that weekend.
Nice.
It's my birthday weekend. No big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal. I always work on my birthday, and I love it because this is what I want to do as a kid. So I'm going to go off on a tangent really quick. Sorry, Brennan.
Happy 25th, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. 25 years old, guys. Really quick. So my birthday is October 10th. The Toronto Maple Leafs, where I grew up in Toronto, they used to play every weekend on my birthday, and that was the best gift for me because my parents had 5 kids. No one ever paid attention to one kid at a time. There was too much going on. So my dad, I always got my dad to myself on my birthday to watch a Hockey Night in Canada game. And so now when I work on my birthday, it just reminds me that, like, hey, I wanted this as a kid, and I really like working on my birthday.
Nice memory.
So yeah, nice little memory. Anyway, off on a tangent. But my point is, my best friends are coming, and if the Red Sox are still in the playoffs, I just want them to feel the Boston atmosphere of what that's like. I'm trying to convert them. Hockey and baseball at the same time. So good luck, Red Sox. Let's move on to what we're expecting to see tomorrow. This Capitals preview. We already kind of got a bit of an answer from Marco Sturm, maybe possibly younger roster. So I think we're going to see a couple of guys. I don't want to say final chances. And at the same time, he's like saying don't overthink, but that's kind of scary for them. But probably for some final chances to show what they got.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. And I think that we've seen a number of players get a pretty good look, right, so far through this preseason, right? Because we were just talking about how Jeremy Swayman, David Pastrnak just made their preseason debut on Monday. And some of the other veterans have only played a couple of games, but for the most part, it's been the younger players and some of the other veterans that are trying to crack the roster. And so now, on Thursday night, they have probably their last opportunity to really get some extended minutes and show what they're capable of to potentially make the roster. Because, to your point, I think Saturday is going to be pretty close to what we're going to see on opening night a week from tonight in Washington.
No, I agree, and so that's why the storylines are going to be developing over the next couple of days and pretty seriously, because as Adam pointed out, if you're just joining us, usually by now we go down to kind of one group. Some cuts are made, especially after a day off, but we're still sticking to two groups. So the answers maybe Friday, maybe after that Thursday game.
And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of lineup that Washington rolls out to on Thursday, if you're going to get, because it's a home game, and what we've seen, in the Bruins,
the vets more in the home game,
more the veteran lineup, right? And so, this is a Washington team that did 111 points last year, most in the Eastern Conference. Maybe overachieved, in terms of what they achieved in the regular season. You had the whole Alex Ovechkin thing last year.
That was so fun.
It was a great time.
That was so fun.
Not going to have that this year, obviously. So as a distraction, didn't seem to bother Washington all that much. But it's looking forward to tonight, tomorrow night, to see who pops, and then a week from tonight, it's the real deal on national TV. For the record, with the Alex Ovechkin thing, I just feel like throwing this in because we have time. I haven't bothered to go find it, but I will. But I was saying 2 years ago on this set, people were like, he's not going to get it done. I was like, he's going to get it done. Yeah. So do you believe me, or do you think I'm BSing right now? I knew he would. You knew that he would break the record? Yes. When did you say that? Like a couple years before, when he was still when he was still, I'm trying to think, maybe over 100 goals away. Yeah. And people were like, that's 100 goals. I'm like, yes, he has to stay healthy. Great call by you.
Felt like, thanks.
I mean, I would say that a decade ago when I was doing pre-post, filling in for Dale, I said that there was no way he was going to do it. Okay. I was like, there's no way he's got to. I mean, who knows how many goals he had at that point? I mean, 10 years ago, whatever. Maybe it was like 400, 500. I don't know what it was. I don't know either. But I just felt it. There's something about Ovi. Anyway, that was really fun. I digress. Well, the question is with him is like, how much longer is he going to play? He's going to play until Russian machine never breaks. He's going to play. Do you know what I'm talking about? Russian machine never. Okay, I think everyone knows. But good. Alex following Alex Ovechkin. It's a Twitter account. It's a blog. It's everything. Yeah. Anyway, until he breaks, which apparently is never. But he's going to play until then. But he also wants to play in Russia, right? And that's the goal professionally. I think that the thought is he wants to play a couple of seasons, one or two anyway, in the KHL. Okay, well maybe if he feels like his team is not contending for a cup, that'll be it. But if there's still a chance, I think he's going to take that chance. We remember how much. This is not the Washington Capitals show, by the way. No, but that's two of the next three games are against the Capitals. Yeah, so there you go. The exhibition game and then the opener, right? We're going to be talking a lot about the Capitals. Are you going to the opener? It is. I am. Oh, you are. Okay. Guys, it's not even our game, but we are, like I said, we're doing pre and post. The way it works is we can't do intermissions because TNT has the rights, but we're going to give you as much as we can. And we're even sending Adam. We are sending you, paying for a hotel to send you. We are dedicated. Yeah, we are. We are dedicated. That's the kind of coverage you get right here on NESN. Just to answer my own question from before, because you didn't ask it to me back, thanks for that. But what's the most fun of your job? What's the most fun? I like being on the bench for warm-ups. Oh, yeah. That is like candy to me every time. It never gets tiring. It never gets old. I stay to the very second. You do your hit, you leave.
I sit on the bench. I don't know. I watch them skate around, even though they're just skating in circles. It is my favorite part of
it's
the
electric.
job.
It is. It's
so
awesome.
fun.
I will say that's not always the case because sometimes I'm trapped there on the bench until warm-ups are over, depending on where we
if you
are.
have to cross the
if
ice
you have to
or
cross
whatever?
the ice, because
Yeah.
some arenas you can access the bench through the locker room.
Yeah.
Other arenas, like Carolina, for example, you have to walk through a wind tunnel.
Yeah.
And then walk across the ice.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't fall.
Yeah.
And then I never put spikes on though. I don't do the spikes.
Dude, I do it
you?
in stilettos.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, but I
it's
shuffle.
No joke.
And then I usually have one of the audio guys or girls link with me because they have good spikes or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I just like shuffle across. But that part's so fun too, like being on the ice. Like it's so fun.
It is. It is.
So
it's
electric.
Looking forward to looking forward to it all, man. Like we're here.
Yeah, we're here. All right, it's almost. It is? Yeah, it is a week away, exactly.
Yeah, 1 week from today.
1 week from today. Okay, you guys have been sending us questions. And we're really excited to get to the mailbag because we're really excited that you guys are listening and caring enough to engage with us.
And because you got a shout out, let's be honest.
And I did get a shout out about someone saying I was dead on about something. So we're going to answer that question and more after the break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Hockey Hub. As promised, we're going to answer some of we have them right here, and we're going to show them to you on our screen. But we have some of the interactions and the questions you've sent us. We're going to do our best to answer them or comment on them. This one's really long, but I have to read the first line because it's so good. From @David, it's either meaty or miati, and I'm sorry, 5922.
Let me
look how long it is, okay? But I'm just going to read the first line. I think Sophia has it dialed. Yes. Boom.
Is that all you want to read?
No, I'll probably read the.
You want to summarize that?
Yeah, I'll summarize.
That's a lot.
But basically, he's saying what I've said, and I think this is what he's commenting on, is that the Bruins, my take is they're either going to make the playoffs by a couple points or miss the playoffs by a couple points. But everyone who's saying they're not a playoff contending team is wrong. And you can mark my words on that. They absolutely are. Trust me on that. But it's not going to be easy. And obviously we have to talk about the division rivals and what they've done and their matchups. You know, Florida has some injuries. There's opportunity there. Anyway, that was my point on that. And I guess you can either, how do you want to answer this? You want to rebuttal? What do you think about my statement on the fact that the Bruins are definitely a playoff contending team?
They are. I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, look at the roster. Look at what they have invested in some of these players, right?
Yes.
I mean, you have one of the best players in the world on your roster, right?
Yep.
That in and of itself, I know it's a team game, but that in and of itself is a pretty good start, I would say, right?
Yeah.
You also have, a guy in Morgan Geekie who just scored 33 goals last year.
Seems to be on a good roll already.
A couple of goals in 2 games in the preseason, right? And Elias Lindholm, you think he's going to have a bounce back,
he's going to have a better year.
That top line already is better.
Yep.
And then, on the back end, you're healthy.
Yep.
Right? With Charlie McAvoy. Hampus Lindholm has looked great so far.
Yes, he has.
I know it's only a couple of preseason games, but dude's been skating.
And he said, because we didn't read the whole paragraph,
Yeah.
I want to see a team with an identity and some fight in them. We know Marco Sturm is working on an identity. Adam has said that Marco has said over and over again, I need to see it, I need to see it, I need to see it in practice.
Yeah.
He's taking this very seriously, the identity of the team, Son's captain or not, and then some fight. And that's something that he's also, with the double playing Nikita Zadorov, that was a message. You're going to see guys getting healthy scratch if they don't show up with fight.
Yeah,
my words
absolutely.
on that. So I think we got both of those. Mm-hmm. Should we take it to another question?
Sure. How much time we got?
Like 2 more minutes?
Okay.
3, I think. Brendan,
right.
tell us. 3
minutes. All right, great.
3.5. He's going to follow our lead. If Swayman gets this is from, Mark Lefebvre. Okay, I'm saying that right, I think.
Lefebvre?
But
I don't know. Let me see the name.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
Lefebvre. It's Lefebvre.
Well, okay, thanks.
That's how you say it.
Okay, thanks. If Swayman gets the swag back, I think they're going to be okay this year. I do think the big bad Bruins are coming back. I mean, absolutely agreed. I've said this so many times, so I'm going to try to summarize it really quick. But I said if the players that didn't perform the way they were expected to, and we just listed a bunch of them, and Jeremy Swayman, obviously one of them, play even 30, and we want more than 30%. But if all of them played even 30% better, that's a different team. So imagine if Swayman goes back to number 1, then we're looking at a very different team.
Yeah. See the guy that we saw in the first round against the Maple Leafs 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why he was the guy, and they traded Linus Ullmark. And so, he needs to be good, and I think he will be.
Yep.
Right? After all that happened last year. You might see Jonas Korpisalo play a couple more games.
A little more. That's what Ray was saying yesterday.
You might.
Yep.
You might. So maybe they have more, not necessarily balanced, but just a little bit more reps for Korpisalo. Yeah, I mean, he needs to be good. The defense needs to be good. The special teams needs to be a whole hell of a lot better for them to compete to make the postseason. Do you want one more? I think we have a minute, so I'm going to read it, and you're going to be put on the spot over here. Okay. Okay. Kevin. On Nikita Zadorov. Zadorov can be an awesome defenseman if he just plays more discipline and chooses his battles more carefully. I mean, he is an awesome defenseman, but yes, we already talked about the message that the coaching staff sent him earlier. I think that's it, discipline. And we saw some blocks that I really liked again preseason in overtime last game that made a difference. Yeah. I agree. And I think that what we saw last year at the beginning of the year was a player getting adjusted, a player that was taking too many penalties at the beginning, and that, you know, again, led to his slow start in Boston. And then what we saw in the second half of the season was much more, you know, of a much more disciplined, but a lot better. And I think what people expected to see. Yeah. A lot more close to what people expected to see from Nikita Zadorov, and you need that. Yeah, I mean, again, you know, goaltending defense, you know, is going to be the identity of this team, I think. You know, and that's just not the defense, but it's team defense as well. Mark my words, for those doubters, I promise you, this is going to be an exciting team to watch. I'm not just plugging watching the game, but you should be anyway. This is going to be a very exciting team to watch. And, of course, they're going to lose some games. Not going to have this record-setting season that no one expected a couple years ago, but it's going to be really fun, really competitive. I think we have 30 seconds. Let's remind people this is the last Wednesday show. Yep. We're moving Mondays and Fridays. We're keeping Mondays, but at 1 o'clock, Fridays at 1 o'clock, okay? So Mondays and Fridays at 1 o'clock, the Hockey Hub. Couple reasons for that time change, but also we just wanted to get you the latest information and the most relevant, and that's going to be happening when we move to 1, because we'll be hearing fresh from Coach and the room on their practice and game days. Okay, Adam, that was fun. Have fun. He's going to Warrior right now. Have fun, and we'll see you guys on Monday at 1 o'clock.